Hello viewers, today we will be concluding the story of the Evil Dead. So that night, when Carl finished reading the journal, he decided to go to bed. A storm was coming. Suddenly, he began to choke, grasping for air and was unable to catch his breath, but eventually he caught his breath. Suddenly, the power goes out. He grabs a flashlight and heads to the basement where the breaker box is located. He tries to flip the breaker switch without success and accidentally drops his flashlight, which rolls towards the other side of the room. Carl grabs a latch that he had not seen before out of curiosity. The lightning was the only light that would periodically give him a way to see anything aside from his flashlight. He discovers what appears to be an old well. Unsure of what to make of it, he closes the latch and tries his luck with the breaker box once more. However, on his way to the box, he froze in fear. Right in front of him are two apparitions of two men, unable to see their faces. Then he began to hear footsteps coming from behind him, and he hears a woman scream coming from beneath his feet, discovering that he was directly above the well. He passes out, only to come to when it was daybreak. He returns minutes later with a vial of holy water that he had kept and poured it into the well, thinking that whatever evil was down there would be cast out. Then he continues to work with Bobby. During the next 3 weeks, Carl's personality begins to change drastically. He becomes more aggressive, angry, and just seems darker, which was a massive difference from the calm and timid personality that the Marquis had known. His mood soon became unpredictable. Bobby had mentioned that it was at a point where he didn't know which car to expect. Weeks later, Bobby made a commercial in hopes of expanding his business. He had his friend, who was a journalist, Doug Hensley, there in hopes of helping him give a good word on his business. Doug asked Bobby how things were going after the commercial shoot. Bobby then told him that business-wise, things were going pretty well. However, his wife and Carl just could not stop talking about ghosts, even though he didn't believe. Doug was intrigued and asked him why he had kept this a secret. Bobby admitted that he didn't want to ruin the reputation of the music hall being taunted by rumors of ghosts. People are scared of ghosts, and he didn't want to attract a certain type of people. Doug asks to speak to Janet and Carl, and Bobby agrees. The next afternoon, Doug spoke to Janet without Bobby being around to get a better understanding of what they were experiencing. When asking Carl about his experience, Carl simply replied with, "This place is evil." They both told Doug of all their experiences, the well, the two men in the basement, and the journal. Carl even went on to explain that the only reason he had stayed was to protect Janet and Bobby for whatever evil was within the walls. No matter how many times Carl would try to leave, it would seem like something was always trying to pull him back. Doug thanked them for their time. He was skeptical, but still decided to do some research based on the information that he had gathered. The next day, he went to the local library to check on the history of the property. He thought that Carl may have been schizophrenic. Upon a little digging at the library, his opinion began to change. Discovering an article from the 19th century from the Kentucky Post was the intriguing story. In 1897, two men, Alonzo Willings and Scott Jackson, were hung for the murder of a woman named Pearl Bryant. Bryant's Hesled corpse was found alongside of the slaughterhouse. Bryant was a school teacher, and she was 5.5 months pregnant at the time of her death. Scott Jackson was a former boyfriend to Pearls. Alonzo Willings was Scott's roommate. It is believed that the two men made an attempt to remove the baby. Failing, they removed Pearl's head instead in an attempt from being identified. Quickly after the body was discovered, people started talking about how the two men were Satanists and were performing a sacrifice to Satan himself by killing Pearl and her unborn child. Several searches was conducted in attempts to find Pearl's head. The only thing the killers told the police was that it was in a dark place where it will never be seen again. The men were asked for any final words when they were at gallows. Alonzo Willings made a disturbing statement saying, "I will come back from hell and hunt everyone involved in my trial and the location where Pearl's head is." Once more, the search for Pearl's head was on, this time with the help of bloodhounds. They directed them to the slaughterhouse, speculations being that her head was disposed in the well, never to be proven, as part of the ritual. This is where Bobby Mackey's music hall now stands, on the very same foundation that the slaughterhouse had once been. Before it was a nightclub, there had been documented incidents of law enforcement finding groups in the basement around that same well performing blood sacrifices of small animals as offering, in belief that it was a portal. The blood would then trail off into the pipe that would then lead into the Laking Pike River behind the slaughterhouse. This is where the pieces will start to come together. The two men that Carl saw in the basement on that stormy night very well could have been the spirits of Alonzo Willings and Scott Jackson. This turned Doug Hensley from a skeptic to a firm believer. Upon researching, there was a disturbing discovery. Pearl Bryant, who was 5.5 months pregnant at the time of her death, Joanna was also 5.5 months pregnant according to her journal entries, and Janet was 5.5 months pregnant when she was pushed down the stairs. This is the first twist to the story. Given the disturbing connections that were made, Doug encouraged Bobby, who still didn't believe that something needed to be done. In a few weeks, arrangements are made. A psychic named Patricia Mitchell was brought in. She was given no knowledge of what had taken place. During her walk through the Bobby case, Patricia would talk to spirits that she had encountered. When asking what the spirit's name was, it responded Joanna. She asked Joanna why she remained there. Joanna responded that she knew she was dead but had chosen to stay. Patricia believed that some of the spirits chose to stay and not move on to avoid the place they believed they were born for all eternity. When Patricia got to the basement, she asked to have the latch board opened on the floor, revealing the well. She stared down into the well and gasped. She said there was the head of a woman down there. She fell back, hit with a bout of nausea, and was in a cold sweat state until she left the club. When she felt better, she returned to meet with Janet, Carl, and Bobby. When she sat with Carl, he was trembling and noticed two men standing beside him. Only her could see them. She felt that they were oppressing Carl, trying to wear him down and use his body. Patricia was worried for Carl's well-being, so she advised them to get in touch with a priest to help break the attachment. Days later, Doug brings a Pentecostal minister to meet with Carl. When the minister stepped into the club, he told Doug, "This is the most evil place I've ever stepped foot in. I have been doing this for years and have never felt anything like it." He believed that Carl was close to being demonically possessed and needed help immediately. The minister began to record conversations and interactions for his own protection. When he began to pray, Carl began to contort and his voice changed and said, "My name is Alonso. I pray to know God." The priest continued to pray. Carl was then thrown back and fell. The minister called for the other men to help get him up. Carl began speaking Latin. After some time, he passes out, then he stops and starts again speaking English backwards, saying Natasmia, Natasmia repeatedly. And when read the other way around, it means I am Satan. After an hour of praying, Carl lets out a loud scream which sounded like two men screaming in unison for several seconds. Everyone felt a cold rush of breeze blow past them. Carl was now silent, breathing heavily. Once he came to, several moments later, Carl had no recollection of what just took place. Days later, Carl decided it was time to move on, no longer feeling attached to the property. Janet also told Bobby that she no longer wanted to be at the club. With all they had experienced, she became a stay-at-home mom devoted to their baby girl. More research was conducted after all this happened to find that Joanna really did exist. In her time, the club was a speakeasy run by the mob named Prime Rose. It was constantly filled with violence. Ownership in the 1950s would change the name to the Latin Quarter, used for gambling, drinking, and performance. Joanna was a dancer, the daughter of the club's owner. Here is the second twist to the story. She had fallen in love with a singer by the name Robert Randall and was pregnant with his child. When her father found out, he was very upset and had Robert killed. Joanna was depressed by her boyfriend's disappearance and poisoned herself in the basement, the same spot that was right above the well. And interestingly, Bobby Mackey's full name is Robert Randall Mackey. That brings us to the end of the story. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to give it a like and share it, which encourages me to bring you more interesting stories like this from around the world. I don't know what media you are watching this with, but you can also find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, and YouTube. And please do not forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of my weekly uploads. Thank you. See you next time, and bye for now.